They laughed when she walked in, not because they knew her, but because they thought they didn't have to. Her cotton dress brushed gently against the chrome doorframe of Wallace & Blake Tower, the kind of place where perfume costs more than rent and smiles are as curated as quarterly reports. Emma Carter paused at the lobby, scanning the sea of stilettos and silk blouses, her presence like a misplaced comma in a corporate novel. No makeup, no statement bag, just a worn folder pressed to her chest and eyes that had seen storms gentler than what awaited her upstairs. Nobody knew her name. But that was about to change. The elevator ride felt like a judgment chamber. Every reflective panel returned her image. Plain, too real for this world of filters. A girl in a sharp blazer snapped a selfie behind her, captioning it, "When you bring your auntie to a CEO-level interview." The post would rack up thousands of views before noon. Emma didn't flinch. 32 floors up, the glass and gold reception was sterile in its perfection. A receptionist with hair like a magazine spread glanced over Emma's shoes, hesitating before speaking. "May I help you? I'm here for the 10 a.m. front office assistant interview," Emma said, her voice calm, the kind that doesn't beg to be liked. A pause, a glance at the list, an arched brow. "Take a seat. They'll call you." She did. On a leather bench that squeaked, right beside a group of candidates discussing MBA programs, crypto investments, and yacht shares. Emma opened her folder. Her resume was modest. Local college, years at a public library, an 8-year gap labeled simply family caregiver. No buzzwords, no endorsements, just truth. One of the young women next to her leaned over and whispered, not quietly, "Enough. She must be applying for janitorial. Look at that dress." They all chuckled, soft, like hyenas politely having lunch. Emma closed her folder. At 10:27, her name was finally called. The interview room was all glass walls and steel edges. 3 people sat behind a curved desk, a man with a clipped beard, a woman in heels too, high to breathe, and someone who looked like they lived on LinkedIn. The man didn't even look up. "Emma Carter? Tell us, what makes you think you're right for our brand?" She opened her mouth to answer. But before she could finish her second sentence, the woman interrupted, smiling thinly. "And do you have any actual experience?" "With executive-level environments," Emma answered honestly. "Not in titles, but I've handled pressure, conflict, multitasking, scheduling." "Domestic work," the man cut in, laughing. "That's adorable." And just like that, the door behind her opened. "You can leave, Mrs. Carter. We'll be in touch." She stood. "Thank you for your time," she said, not with defeat, but with precision. Because what they didn't miss was that the man whose name was etched on the top floor, the CEO who owned every inch of this building, would not be pleased, and he knew exactly who Emma Carter was. The lobby was louder on the way down, louder with whispers, with the muffled cackle of phone screens being swiped, videos reviewed, and the sharp staccato of heels marching triumphantly past the defeated. Emma exited the elevator with the same grace she entered, but now the air was heavier, thick with smugness. At the far end of the reception desk, the girl from earlier was showing someone a clip on her phone. There. Pause it." That's the part where she blinks like she's about to cry. Laughter. Click repost. The job interview fails in who wore it worst. Cotton dress cringe. Emma didn't turn back. She adjusted the strap of her canvas bag, pushed open the glass doors, and let the city swallow her. Her walk wasn't fast, just steady, like someone who'd fallen before and knew how to get back up later. By 3:12 p.m., the clip had passed 140,000 views. The comments ranged from mockery to memes. "This isn't even sad. It's just out of touch. Karen energy without the entitlement. Weird. Moms stay at home for 10 years and think the world stayed the same." At 4:47 p.m., it reached someone else. A private Slack pinged inside the top-floor executive suite of Wallace & Blake. The user, R. Carter. The message, Why is my wife trending on TikTok? Sir, we didn't know she was your— Richard Carter didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The CEO of one of the most ruthless corporate empires in the city stood behind his desk, eyes locked on a still frame, Emma's face mid-blink, with the words "tragic try hard" in rainbow font across the top. He paused the video, stared at the faces in the room, 5 senior staff members, 3 from HR, 1 recruiter, and the woman who'd said, "She looks like she came in to clean." Richard folded his hands. "Walk me through the interview process." Murmurs, deflection. The recruiter spoke first. She didn't meet the criteria, no formal corporate experience, no advanced certifications. She arrived, casually dressed. She was polite? He asked. Yes, very. Articulate? Yes, but did she lie? No, sir. So let me understand. He stepped forward, tapping the screen. You judged a woman, laughed at her, humiliated her, not because of what she said, but because of how she looked walking in. No one answered. She raised our children. She managed a household budget tighter than your quarterly reports. She negotiated with doctors, schools, landlords. She handled crisis after crisis, unpaid and invisible. While I built this, he turned to the head of HR. And you all thought, she was beneath you. There was silence. He nodded once. Then he spoke the sentence that made every stomach drop. Clear your schedules for tomorrow. We're having a mandatory company-wide retraining on human dignity. One person dared to ask, should we reach out to Mrs. Carter to apologize privately? Richard shook his head. No, he said, voice cold. You'll do it publicly, the same way you tried to shame her. He turned back to the screen, hit play once more, and whispered, more to himself than the room. They mistook silence for weakness. Emma, at that moment, was making dinner, chopping onions, helping her youngest with math homework. Her phone buzzed, a new message from her husband. Love, there's been a development. Don't be alarmed if you get some attention tomorrow. Just be yourself. She smiled slightly, stirred the pot, and went back to being invisible. But the world was about to see her in full color. The next morning began like any other. Coffee, breakfast for the kids, a forgotten permission slip signed on the fridge door. Emma moved through it all like music, soft, precise, unhurried. Her phone buzzed once, twice. She ignored it. Notifications. Could wait. But by 8:43 a.m., her daughter was standing at the kitchen doorway holding a tablet with wide eyes. Mom, why are you on the news? Emma wiped her hands and took the tablet. There it was, a headline pulsed across the screen. CEOs. Wife humiliated in viral interview clip. Company responds swiftly. Under it, a still of her face mid-sentence. This time not with mocking emojis, but a new caption. Grace under fire. She blinked, clicked play. What followed wasn't just the video anymore. It was everything. A full press release from Wallace and Blake. A video statement by Richard Carter himself, speaking not as a husband, but as CEO. Our company failed a woman of integrity. This wasn't just a lapse in professionalism. It was a cultural rot, and it ends now. The video cut to employees reading apology letters aloud, to the recruiters fumbling words like dignity and second chance. To Emma, in the original clip, sitting quietly, her expression patient but dignified, and the tide shifted. By noon, the hashtags had changed. Emma Carter deserved better. Real strength. Corporate reckoning. Even major influencers, book reviewers, life coaches, women in tech picked it up. She didn't break down. She didn't scream. She didn't post a single thing. That's power. A Dr. Miranda writes, imagine being so graceful, your silence causes a Fortune 500 to rewrite its HR protocols. Alpha and Diva podcast. Emma stared at her screen in disbelief. Her inbox ballooned with invitations, interviews, podcasts, speaking events, but she ignored them all. She just wanted to go on with her day, water the plants, pay the electricity bill, help Ben with science homework. Then a black car pulled into her driveway. Her husband stepped out not in a suit, but in jeans and a flannel shirt. Unusual for Richard Carter. He smiled. "Do you want to come see something?" he asked. They drove in silence until they reached the company's headquarters. A line stretched from the main doors all the way around the block. Cameras, journalists, employees holding signs that read, "We stand with Emma." I was her too. As they entered, the elevator dinged open to an eerily quiet floor. Richard led her through glass hallways. The same corridors that had judged her dress now reflected the weight of her name, her presence, her story. He stopped outside a room labeled Human Integrity and Culture Office. Inside, a minimalist desk, bookshelves, fresh lilies, and a nameplate that read, Emma Carter, Executive Advisor on Empathy and Inclusion. She turned to him. "I don't want this because I'm your wife." He shook his head. "You're not getting it because you are. You're getting it because they need you more than they know." Emma stepped inside. Within days, she began building programs, workshops on unconscious bias, return-to-work mentoring for stay-at-home parents, panels where people spoke not about their resumes but about their scars, their survival, their truth. One afternoon, a young employee walked in. The same girl who'd whispered about Emma's dress in the lobby. Tears welled in her eyes. "I judged you. I recorded that video. It felt funny at the time. I'm sorry." Emma looked at her, and not with pity but clarity. "You did what the world taught you to do. Now let's teach it something better." She offered the girl a chair, a cup of tea, and a second chance. That was the real work. Camera flash, headlines, public gestures, they were noise. But inside those quiet rooms where stories were finally told, Emma Carter became something more than a symbol. She became a mirror, and the world for once didn't look away. The silence in the boardroom was suffocating. Every executive, every senior manager, every polished figure once untouchable, now sat in absolute stillness. Not from fear, from awareness. The awareness that everything they thought they knew about value, image, and power had just shattered. And in the center of it all was Emma Carter. She stood in front of the projection screen, calm as always. The slide behind her read, "Perception versus substance, a corporate blind spot. No theatrics, no revenge speech, just her voice, low, clear, and devastatingly steady. Some of you saw me as weak because I was quiet, because I wore cotton instead of couture, because I didn't speak in acronyms or buzzwords. But what you failed to see was the cost of that silence and the strength it takes to wear it." The room didn't dare breathe. She clicked to the next slide. A screenshot of the viral video, but annotated. Red circle, smirk from interviewer 1. Yellow arrow, eye roll from panelist 2. Bold text, "She looks like housekeeping." Then, she turned from the screen. "You didn't just reject me. You rejected every woman who paused her career for family. Every man who doesn't dress the part. Every applicant who couldn't afford a fancy suit but still showed up." She let that settle. From now on, this company will not measure people by Polish, but by perseverance. A murmur of approval. Emma walked slowly to the window overlooking the city. Her reflection stared back at her, the same woman who was once laughed out the door. But now, outside that building, people gathered not in protest, but in celebration. The Emma Carter initiative had gone public. Major media outlets praised Wallace and Blake for transformative leadership. But every headline traced back to her. The woman who redefined corporate strength without raising her voice. From mock to monumental, Emma Carter's quiet revolution, and the public couldn't get enough. Live broadcasts of her workshops hit millions of views. Even high-level government agencies reached out to replicate the model. But through it all, Emma kept the same pace, unhurried, deliberate. One evening, after a long seminar, she passed by the receptionist's desk. A new girl sat there, nervous, fresh out of school, wearing a hand-me-down blazer. Emma smiled. "First week?" The girl nodded. "I was scared they wouldn't hire me. I don't look like everyone else here." Emma knelt beside her, eyes warm. "That's why. We hired you." She placed a hand gently on the girl's resume. "Just remember, they'll judge you before they know you. That's their mistake. Not yours. A few feet away, the same woman who once called her housekeeping stood silently watching. Now demoted, now humbled, now learning. Emma didn't gloat, she just walked away because true power doesn't need to scream. It simply stands and lets the world adjust around it. That week, Richard watched her speak on live television. She wore the same cotton dress, same calm voice. But this time, no one laughed. They listened. A journalist asked, "If you could say one thing to the people who judged you that day, what would it be?" Emma paused, smiled. "I'd thank them." Confused silence. "Because they gave me a stage I never asked for, and a fire I didn't know I had." 1 year later, the city looked different. Billboards no longer flaunted faceless perfection. They showed stories, real people, real resilience. One of them displayed Emma Carter, not airbrushed or posed, but seated at a kitchen table, laughing, with her children. The caption read, "Strength isn't always loud, sometimes it makes dinner." Inside the World Forum on Social Equity, the hall was packed. Cameras, CEOs, activists, students. The buzz was electric. Emma stepped onto the stage in her usual soft-toned dress. No makeup except a touch of lip balm. A simple silver watch ticking. Gently on her wrist, she adjusted the mic, looked over the sea of faces, and began. "A year ago, I walked into a building and was dismissed before I could speak. Not because I was unqualified, but because I didn't look like power. But here's the truth. Power doesn't wear heels or speak in jargon. It wakes up early. It holds crying toddlers. It manages chaos in silence. And sometimes it walks into a boardroom wearing cotton. Applause. Not the polite kind, the kind that rose like thunder. I was called weak. I was mocked for my stillness. But silence isn't weakness. Silence is grace. Silence is patience. And when the moment is right, silence becomes the loudest voice in the room." The hall erupted. Emma blinked, steady, but her voice cracked just once as on the final line. "To every person who has ever been told they're too small to matter, remember, you don't have to change to be seen. The world just needs to wake up." Outside, the live stream shattered viewership records. Emma Carter trended for 72 hours. That evening, she didn't attend the after-party. No interviews, no glam. She went home. She sat on the porch with a blanket around her legs, sipping tea as twilight wrapped the world in blue. Richard joined her, quietly handing her a peanut butter cookie, her favorite. "They keep calling you the face of a movement," he said. Emma chuckled. "Funny, I didn't move, the world did." He looked at her, something tender behind his eyes. "You changed everything." She shook her head. "No, I just stopped waiting to be chosen." From inside the house, laughter echoed. Their children, playing. Emma leaned back, eyes closed, letting the breeze lift her hair. Just then, a young woman walked past the sidewalk. She hesitated, turned, and approached the porch. "Excuse me, are you Emma Carter?" Emma smiled softly. "Depends, is that a good thing today?" The girl laughed, nervously. "It's just, my mom saw your speech, and she cried. Said no one's ever spoken for her before." Emma stood, walked down the steps, and took the girl's hand gently. "Tell your mom I'm not speaking for her," she said. "I'm just saying what she's always known, out loud." The girl wiped her eyes. "Can I take a photo? She'd love that." Emma nodded. The flash went off. Somewhere online, another story began, and Emma Carter, the woman they once laughed at, became the quiet fire that made the whole world listen. Think appearance defines worth? Think again. Watch the moment dignity flips the script. Comment if you've ever been underestimated. Share this if silence ever gave you power. Follow for more stories where the quiet ones rise loudest.